All right, guys, welcome back.
Yes.
EYL, we're back home. So this is going to be an interesting, very dope conversation. We've never talked to anybody in this realm before, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Indeed it is.
For sure, and it's one of the fastest growing sports. It has been one of the fastest growing sports for a long time, especially ever since Lil Wayne started riding.
Yeah. Shout out to Wayne.
Shout out to Wayne.
I mean, there's some guys prior to that. Right. Tony Hawk.
No, I'm saying for our culture.
Our culture, for sure.
For sure.
Yes.
You ain't really see, like, Mac Main has said that, like, he was like, yo.
He did change that.
We got in the hood in New Orleans, like, riding skateboards. Like, I'd never seen that before.
It was like Wayne, and right when Wayne was doing it, we had Lupe come in with the kick push. And Lupe don't get a lot of credit, though.
Yeah,
he should, though.
Sure. But he's not a skateboarder.
He was. That whole song was about.
But he said that he actually, you probably know this.
He might.
He got pushed back from the skateboard community
because he wasn't
a skateboarder. He's just a writer, and he wrote the song, but he's not like a passionate skateboarder, right?
Yeah.
Wayne caused some flashback too.
Shout out to Lupe though, man.
No, shout out to Lupe for sure.
Lupe. I mean, you know what it was too? Like that song still introduced so many kids to the action sports culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, so it still had a moment, but you guys forgetting skateboard P.
So we were getting there.
Skateboard P.
He is skateboard P.
Don't forget Pharrell.
Shout out to
skateboard P for a reason.
Played a part in the culture for sure. So Nigel Sylvester, a young legend in the game from Queens, and he's a professional BMX rider. And he's huge on social media, over 500,000. He got endorsement deals from Nike, from Brand Jordan, from G-Shock.
Ramoa.
Yeah, he's also
that was crazy.
He's also an entrepreneur.
Insane, bro.
That was crazy.
Yeah,
insane.
He's an entrepreneur, and an ambassador for the skateboard culture, and he's somebody.
BMX,
bicycle culture,
bicycle culture.
Yeah, you're not two wheels. Well, he is two wheels.
Two wheels.
Yes.
Not
they're very.
I would say
synonymous.
like. I call it X Games, but I don't even want to I don't know how you feel about that, like BMX athlete, or just, because I've heard it in plenty of things. It's like, yo, you're just a professional athlete. First and
I'm
foremost.
a professional BMX athlete.
Got you.
First and foremost.
And the bike culture is interesting because like the pedal bike, but then you have like the Meek Mill situation, like Chino and those guys.
Yeah.
Out in Philly and Baltimore, where they turned up too.
Crazy.
And it was a whole different way. Like, I feel like growing up, basketball, football, for black people, that's what you were looking at. Nobody was looking at alternative X Games
As a career?
as even something that was cool.
I feel like I feel like bikes were a part of all of our lives, right?
No, just riding a bike, but not as like.
But that's how it starts.
It wasn't like you doing a sport out of it.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
riding
you're
a
not
bike.
thinking like I can do something.
No,
like this.
nobody ever thought about riding a bike or a skateboard, or none of that was looked at as cool.
So, I mean, even like video games, like we used to play it, but we never thought like, how do we turn this into something?
No, for sure.
Yeah.
But then that changed.
Yes.
In the 2000s, and now it's just part of the fabric of culture. Like, you don't even think about it. You see a skateboard park, you see a bike park, you see any of that type of vibe, you don't really even, it's not a big deal. Yeah. But before, it would be like, yo,
what's he doing?
What's going on here?
Right.
If they were black, you would be like, well, why is he doing that? Like, what is he doing? So, yeah. Thank you for joining us.
No, thanks.
And thank you for breaking that barrier.
I appreciate it.
For sure. The last time that we were together was in Paris.
Right.
Fashion Week.
a great run-in.
In a very small club.
She was hot in there.
So perhaps.
Yeah, that was the last time that was the first time we actually linked.
Right.
Yeah.
And I actually reached out to you on Instagram a couple years ago. I don't know if you remember.
Really?
I was like, yo, I want to get you on the show, bro.
Yeah, I got the DM. 2020.
Yeah.
December.
Really?
Yeah.
During the pandemic?
It was during the pandemic. We were watching your here you go right here.
It was like,
He pulled it up.
I pulled it up. Because I figured we was going to be. It was like, hey, yo, would love what you're doing. Would love to connect. It was like, yeah, bro. I was like, yo, what's your info? Left us on scene.
That's a fact. That's a fact. They didn't take it personal.
I'm sure I caught up doing something, man. You know what I mean?
A bunch of deals getting done.
Listen, we were still working during the pandemic, man. We had to figure out different ways to still make things happen.
Never personal. We were like, when the time comes, it's going to be the right time.
Happens.
So that's why we're here.
But yeah, no, thank you for joining us.
I appreciate you fellas, man.
dope conversation I'm looking forward to having. So,
let's do it.
All right, how do you get into riding bikes?
I think it's similar to what we just spoke about, right? Where like riding bikes in the neighborhoods that we come from is just part of childhood, right? It's like a rite of passage. And then from there, for me, it was like, all right, well, how do I pop a wheelie or how do I do a bunny hop? And started making ramps and things of that nature, man. And that's when I fell in love with it. For real.
You taught yourself?
A lot of it, yeah. A lot of it, yeah. It was just like
trial and error.
Trial and error, man. Falling,
breaking,
scrapes. You know what I mean? Like you just have it's like that. It's a typical learning curve. You know what I mean?
So you're doing the ramps and you're riding just for fun, but at some point, and because like I know you're born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, but like X Games becomes a thing. Even like we gotta give credit to like the Tony Hawk video games, like that brought people into the culture. At what point did you say like, all right, this is something I want to actually do for like a career?
I seen it on TV, right? So you would see some of those programmers like X Games, things of that nature. And I seen guys riding BMX bicycles, and they were dope kits, sponsor logos all over their helmets and like their chest pads on their bikes or whatnot. And they was living like this BMX rock star lifestyle. And I was like, man, I want to do that. Like that looks dope. At that point in time, I was already in love with bicycle riding. You know what I mean? I was already doing my thing in the hood, trying to figure it out. But then I seen what the potential could be. And once I understood that, I was like, oh, now I'm locked in.
So at what point do you make this a career?
When I went pro. So at the age of 12 is when I started to, again, like really get into it, right? And identify this is what I wanted to do. And from there, it was like every moment I had, like it was on my bicycle. I came home from school, dropped my bag, jumped on my bike, came home when the lights turned on. You know what I mean? It's like my mom isn't wilding out. On the weekends, just wake up on Saturday morning early, ride all day, Sunday, ride all day. And then through that, right, I started to leave my neighborhood, go to like Manhattan or go to Brooklyn and things of that nature.
On a bike?
On a bike. Jump on a train, go to wherever, you know what I mean? Just to explore New York City, kind of seeking out other kids who were riding BMX bikes. And as I met different kids and the information got exchanged, right? Whether it was like, oh, check out this magazine, or check out this tape, or check out this DVD, whatever the case is. Started to learn more about, okay, this is the path that I needed to take in order to turn pro. And putting myself in like the right position. The time that went into like,
but what is the process? What's the process to even turn pro? Like, is there a tryout?
Right.
Do you have to get accepted into like, how does that even, because we know how to turn pro in basketball, football, but I don't know how to, I'm assuming most people don't know how to turn pro in your sport.
So unlike basketball and football, right, where like you go to high school and then you go to college and then you enter the draft, with BMX it's different, right? It's like the bike brands turn guys pro, you know? So it's about, again, meeting like the right people, meeting like the team managers or meeting the company owners or like the high level guys on those BMX teams. And it's like word of mouth, right? Where it's like, if you dope and you killing it and like they catch wind of you and y'all vibe and y'all click, like they're gonna put the word in for you.
So it's like a sponsorship.
Yeah.
As soon as you start making money, you're a pro.
Basically, yeah.
It's not like you don't sign a contract to get into a league.
Nah,
it's just like
it's no league. You sign a contract, you sign a professional contract with said brand, right? Like the brand turns you pro. Like the brand says, okay, now you're a professional BMX athlete.
So this is like 2005, you're 18.
Yeah.
Right? So this is YouTube.
2005, 2005, yeah, 2005, yeah.
I did the math, man. So, I mean, there's a couple of things to unpack there, right? Number one, when we think of athlete, we think basketball, we think football players, we cater around them, we make sure that they make it out the neighborhood.
Right.
I wonder what that was like, and I'm kind of hearing it because you had to travel outside the neighborhood to find people that were doing something similar.
Right.
But how do you get notoriety? Because this is before social media.
Right.
There's no Instagram. Facebook is just starting on college campuses around this time. And YouTube isn't really something that people are watching. So how do the brands even find you?
I mean, so like, again, like it's being in the right place at the right time. You know what I mean? Also, people make sponsor me tapes. So like you'll film yourself and you'll send it to the brand. You know what I mean? And like, if they like what you do, they may hit you back. Like they may send you some product. If not, it's crickets. You know what I mean? But a lot of times it's also going to certain BMX competitions, right? And like, again, showing off your talent, right? So there was like some local contests in New York that I went to just to get that exposure. Because at that point in time, the main media in BMX was either the magazines or the videos. Like the videos came out once every few months, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was difficult. It was difficult to get that exposure, man.
So I'm thinking like this is like N1 mixtape.
Yeah.
You're making your mixtape.
Yeah, man. That was exactly what it's like, bro. Like N1 mixtape, man.
So who was the first company that sponsored you?
There was a brand in New York called Base Brooklyn. It's a t-shirt brand. And they would like sponsor guys, take guys on like BMX trips, you know what I mean? Which was a big thing at that point in time for someone to pay for you to go ride your bike in another state. You know what I mean? So they were first, and then shortly after, there's a company called Animal Bikes, and they started flowing me product, right? So how it works in BMX is like you get flow, which is like just free product. Then you're an amateur rider, you know what I mean? Where you can get a little more product, a little more love, and then it's pro.
And then you get money.
Then you get money at the pro level.
Like as the first compensation, how much money did you make when you first, like the first deal?
it was like a few $100, man.
Few hundred?
$100 at that point in time.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
And how long was that for?
For a year or so. You know,
few $100 for a year?
Yeah, until I turned pro for real. Like when I turned pro, then it changed completely. Want some amateur stuff?
Like with the pro, well, how much was when you first turned pro?
I'd rather not speak about that right now, honestly.
All right, so let's talk about the Dave Mirra.
Right.
This is a legend.
Super legend.
At that point in your career, like you're 18, this is one of the guys you're looking up to, saying like, I hope they see what I'm doing. I hope they can see my talent, to the point where it's like, all right, he's looking to sign me. Like, how did that meeting take place?
For sure. So at that point in time, we were filming for a video called Flipside. And the premise of the video was it would take 4 up-and-coming BMX athletes. I wasn't even pro yet, so amateur. And it would take 4 pro guys and kind of put each other in each other's worlds. You know what I mean? So like we went down to North Carolina and we met Dave Mirra and got to understand his world a little bit more. Went to his private facility, went to his crib, got to see how he was living. And it was super inspiring. And at that point, he was looking to sign riders. He had just started a company called Miracle Bikes. He was looking to to sign some riders. And he signed me as the second rider to his team. And that's when like life changed. I went pro at that point in time.
Smart decision by him.
100%, bro. it was a great decision.
Great investment.
But for like those who don't know who Dave Mirra is, I would compare Dave Mirra to like the Michael Jordan of BMX. You know what I mean? He was that influential. He changed the game. He set the tone, like super successful within the game, man. And to have someone like him sign me, I had just turned 18.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm still trying to figure a lot of things out. And he gave me that shot. You know, I'm forever grateful.
So you never competed in X Games, right? Is that correct?
On like the pro level, like, so there was once or twice, I think it's twice, I went to Brazil one time and I went to Dubai. But at that point, I was already established in my career and I didn't really care about riding X Games. I went just to travel. I wanted to go see what Brazil was like. I wanted to see what Dubai was like. For me, like competing was never important. You know, like I didn't have to compete to turn pro. And then in my circle, we didn't really care about that. We more cared about going out and filming content.
So I just want to deep dive into that for a little bit, because most people in most sports, their goal is to win.
Right.
Win a gold medal, win a championship, win whatever, right? Like that's part of it. But you're saying like you never really cared about competition. Your thing was you going viral, you making a name for yourself, you're getting sponsorships, and you just curating your own vibe. You never cared about the actual competing in the sport, right?
Correct.
Why? That's interesting for us from a sports standpoint. Like why?
So you have to break it down like this, right? When it comes to action sports, like there's 2 different ways to go pro, right? A lot of guys would go into like that competition circuit and do that, and like that contest series will help define those guys turning pro. There's other guys who just free ride. Will go out and just create a video part, and I will compare a video part to like a musician's album, right? Where like you'll take let's call it a year out, and you'll go film your best stuff, right? And that takes time to do that, right? It's a piece of art in a sense. And then you put that out, right? And a lot of guys go pro that way. And that was the way I went pro. It was more about free riding and creating video parts and creating content, you know? And because that was my route and I achieved so much success from that route, I never cared about
the competition. So it's about expression, not competition.
Right. You know, I'm competing
so you never look at somebody like I'm better than him, or I could do this, or I want to battle him in this. You never look at it like that.
I mean, like it's always gonna be that, right? Because like we're like as BMX riders, like I feel like we're always chasing that, like that next trick that's never been done before. You know what I mean? And like that's the way that you really get your rocks off. You feel me?
Yeah.
So it was always that for me. You know what I mean? Like I knew where I stood amongst my peers in the world of BMX. And then there was a part that was like, okay, how far can I take it going this route? Can I actually break the mold? And that's what I ended up doing. You know, I proved that you don't need a contest to become successful in the world of BMX.
Yeah.
You know, and I started to chase that. And that's what became more like enticing for me. You know?
That's interesting. So rather than a contest, you focus on the content.
Right.
So how did you, because now you're professional, how do you build a team around you that's capturing the content? Because like to do a trick, it might take you, like you might be practicing that thing for 11 hours straight. And somebody has to capture that for 11 hours straight, perhaps.
Sure.
So how did you go about doing that? Because that could get pricey.
100%, man. So a lot of times, like the companies I was sponsored by, they'll pay for the filmers, they'll pay for the photographers. You know, there's certain situations where guys who were creating different video projects, they'll go out and film a bunch of different guys, and then they'll sell that video project. That's how they got paid. You know what I mean? So it's a bunch of different ways on how it worked. And when I started to make enough money, I started to pay for my own guys to film me. Like it's simple as that.
How long is a typical filming for you?
It's depending on what you're filming. You know, it's always different, bro. Like we spoke about earlier about time, like the time that has gone into my career is crazy, right? There's certain tricks that I've chased for months, you know what I mean? Flying back and forth between New York and LA, or going to like certain places around the world to land one trick because it meant that much to me. Because I know like if I land this trick and I put it in this video, it's going to be out of here. You know what I mean? So that's the thing people don't really understand is like, a lot of times you guys see the end result, but there's a lot of energy that goes into capturing these moments, you know?
10,000 hours.
Man,
So
listen.
what about the Go video series?
Right.
On YouTube, where you ride in different parts of the world. Talk about that, the inspiration, putting that together, and how that all came about.
For sure.
Earners, what's going on? Listen, EYLU is relaunching, revamping, retooling. That's right, we're creating a new educational experience that's more expansive. Shawty, tell them what we got.
Yes, 2023. We got a lot in store, a lot planned for you guys. So you know that EYLU already includes monthly financial planning calls with me, book club calls with Troy, real estate calls with MG the Mortgage Guy, access to the home buying blueprint, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Part of the revamp will include 27 local chapters from across the United States, live interactive teaching, hands-on, not just pre-recorded videos, plus 15 brand new curriculums.
The biggest just got bigger.
Sure. So I was at a point in my life where I wanted to create a video platform that I control 110%, right? I didn't want a brand telling me what to do, telling me how to do it. And I also wanted to answer a couple questions, right? People would always ask me, how does it feel to ride your bike, right? When you're in traffic or you're traveling the world and people are like you're hanging out with. So I was like, well, how do I answer these questions, but also again, create something that I own completely, but also do it in a way that's creative, something that's progressive, something that people aren't seeing online right now. And between figuring out that process, we started the Go series, and we filmed the first one in New York on a shoestring budget. We probably had a couple $1,000s to do it. You know, it was my creative partner Harrison Boyce and I took the entire summer of 2015 to shoot it. And at the end of that summer, we had an amazing piece of content. We had this 4-minute video that, in our opinion, was something, again, people have never seen before. You know, for everything from how we shot it in like the POV standpoint. So you can see what it's like to be on my bike when I'm going up traffic the wrong way, or when I'm jumping down the staircase. Leaned on a bunch of my friends, right? We had like Victor Cruz in there, and we had like ASAP Ferg, and a bunch of people were like cameoed in the video. These are my guys, right? And we said, cool, like how are we gonna put this out? So we went to YouTube, right? Again, a platform that we can control. And we put it out with no real expectation. We just wanted to share the piece of content. And that video went viral in a matter of days.
Was that your first YouTube video?
No, I did other videos before that.
But that was the first of that series.
Yeah, it was the first one of that series. And man, like it went crazy, bro. People from all around the world were hitting me up. Like, can we like post a video? Tell us more. Can we interview you? And it was so much that I learned in that process, man. It was one, like taking the control into my own hands. It was 2, being fearless. You know what I mean? Like being fearless on my bicycle was a natural thing. But now transition that like fearlessness into what I was creating as well, you know, and just believing in myself, you know, believing in what we created.
Yeah.
And then the power of the internet did what the internet did, man. And after that, Go New York video went viral, man. Like it just created this ripple effect, right? Where like people started to look at my brand differently.
You talked about some of the people that were in that made cameos in it.
Yeah.
We always talk about relationships and how, you know, they're more valuable than money. Were you nurturing those relationships prior to making the video? Or like, how did people gravitate towards you being in the BMX world? Like, I always see you with, I can't think of somebody who you haven't been standing next to.
Right.
But are people just looking like, yo, that's the guy from the BMX video, or are you introducing to them? How do you nurture relationships as you're building that brand?
I mean, first it's, in regards to that video in itself, it's New York City, right? I'm a New York City kid. I'm outside all the time. So you speak of like even Ferg and Vic, right? Like I've known these guys for years prior to that video. You know what I mean? Like Ferg actually cameoed in a video I did maybe 4 years prior to that, because Ferg actually rides bikes and whatnot,
right.
You know? And Vic, we run like the same circles and whatnot. So when it came to the time of doing that first Go New York video, it's like, yo, I'm doing this video. I need y'all to be in it. And it was like, cool, no doubt. Tell us where to show up. You know what I mean? It was love because we already had a respect for one another. To answer, to go back to the main question though, as far as like relationships, I mean, relationships are everything, you know? And I feel like throughout my career, I've done an incredible job of fostering like real relationships with people. It's not just a transactional thing, you know? Like it's actually like, yo, I'm invested into what you're doing, and you're invested into what I'm doing, and we actually cool, and we can create together. And I feel a lot of times people think it's like networking is just about meeting someone and like having that transaction. It's more than that for me. You know what I mean? I actually want to like, again, like, let's be bros, you know?
So let's stay on this topic. We'll go. So you did, it goes viral, but then you start to take this on the road, and you go to London and Dubai and Tokyo. Right. So the travel aspect is interesting, because that's why I always I think like Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace. He had an interesting thing, because most people look at it like a food show, but it's really a travel show mixed with food. People love to travel. Right. And so when did you decide to make it a travel show and highlight different cities while you're doing bike tricks?
So the original idea was always to take it around the world. So I'm not going to name the brand, but I had pitched the idea to a brand. It's like, listen, I need $300,000 to like do this video where I ride my bicycle around the world, all in like, quote unquote, one setting, you know? And they were like, nah, we don't believe in it. So when we did Go New York, that was really just a pilot to show them that the idea can work. But the success of Go New York, I was like, okay, let's not do this in one video. Let's break it down into segments. So then we did LA, then we did Tokyo, and now each city became its own thing, you know? And then like, again, like the goal is to ride my bike around the world. So at the end of season 1, we have one more episode we're gonna do. if you put all the videos together, I'm starting in New York and I go around the world, west to east. So like that was the original idea of it. So it was always, the travel part was always there. I've already been traveling around the world.
Were you capturing audiences when you were going to different places?
We would touch down in said city and connect with the people who were moving and shaking in that city. And when we put the video out and like that city seen it, it was like, oh, I've now garnered a new audience in that city based off the video. You know, because like they see me capture the true essence of that city, all the right people, the right places, doing the right things. Again, there's a very special experience doing it, right? We always say there's a certain magic that kind of surrounds the Ghost series and like when we're filming it, because things just happen to work out. Yeah, you know.
When you're doing that, when you have the idea, and I'm sure there's writers right now that have the idea, what's the process of negotiating the budget or the amount of the sponsorship you believe the value is worth, right? Because I'm sure there's times where you've been in meetings and people probably undervalued your worth, right? So how do you capture like your true value inside of the space and say, all right, this is what we're worth, take it or leave it. If you can't rock with us, we'll move somewhere else.
A lot of times it's based off the numbers, you know. Those YouTube numbers don't lie; like they're right up there, you know. And there's certain things that are like those intangibles, right, where you can't put a dollar amount on it. You have to just believe that I'm gonna go and deliver what it is that I said I'm gonna deliver. You know, I feel like we speak about the time that's gone into my career. We speak about the longevity, right? Like I've been doing this for a long time. And year after year, putting out hits, whether it's a content series, whether it's a sneaker, you know what I mean? Whether it's a t-shirt, whether it's a book, whatever the case may be, you know what I mean? Like those things start to justify the worth and the value of the things that I'm touching.
So let's go to 2018.
2018, that was an amazing year.
I'd say
that was an amazing year for me, man.
If people didn't know who you were, 2018 is like, welcome to the world. You get the, how did the collaboration, I'm saying 2018 is because when the Jordan One came out, how did that collaboration come about? Was it the buzz had built up to the point where now you're on the radar for Jordan brand?
Right. So it's crazy, right? So like we speak about 2015 when the Ghost series launched, right? But if you think about the beginning of my career, right, from 2005, 2006 up to 2015, that's a lot of time and a lot of energy and trial and error that went into even get into the Ghost series in 2015, right? And then from 2015 to 2018, putting out, again, more content, putting out different projects, that 2018 came around. And yeah, like the success that I have garnered in my career from the beginning to that point, I was already sponsored by Nike for all those years, right? We did multiple shoes. We did a Nike 6.0. We did a Nike Dunk at that point in time. And we had success with those shoes. Those led into me getting an opportunity to do a Jordan 1 in 2018. And I did an Air Force 1 in 2018 as well, you know, that came out a month later. And they both sold out in a matter of like, I mean, like the Jordan 1 sold out in one day, the Air Force 1 took 2.
Might have been less than a day, probably like an hour.
Yeah, it was gone, bro. But and it was so crazy because we did an early release in New York, right? So we did a release at KIF in the morning time. Then we did a release at RSVP Gallery in LA later that night. So we did 2 cities same day, which I was in both cities for it. Joints were gone in a matter of minutes. And then the official release was September 1st of 2018. And I was like, man, I want to go overseas, right? I want to go to Europe and do signings and do a release. So we did 1 in Paris, and then we did 2 in Paris, and we did 1 shoe signing in Amsterdam. And I remember landing in Paris super early. I think we landed at like 5 a.m. or something like that. So we were in Center City at 6 a.m. And there was a line of kids, about 100 kids outside the Nike store waiting for this shoe at 6 in the morning. You know what I mean? Like that is a true indicator of my global relevance at that point in time. And also a sign of like, we've created a shoe that people around the world can relate to. You know what I mean? The fact that this was the first on the BMX-inspired Jordan One, right? The first time you seen a Jordan One distressed, like being released as a brand new shoe it was a huge moment for me, man. Huge moment.
So are you the biggest in the game?
100%.
Whoa. 1,000.
100%, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
no hesitation.
Not
Let me
at
ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the sneaker collaboration, right?
Right.
When you're marketing this, are you in communication with Nike to say like, this is how I want the vibe to be curated and this is kind of in line with my brand, or are they leading the conversation? How is that working with, one of the largest companies in the world?
It's a collaborative effort, especially for me, right? Like anything you see me put out, this is more than likely that I've been involved with the process from inception to release and everything in between. You know what I mean? I'm super particular and hands-on. I want to make sure that my vision is like, it comes across and it gets expressed the right way. And something else I want to credit Nike for, man. Again, like I signed with Nike early on in my career, right? It's like, it was my second professional sponsor. And going up to Portland and sitting in these rooms, right? Sitting in these boardrooms, sitting in these marketing meetings, these design sessions. I learned so much about the business side of what happens, right?
What's some of the things you learned?
Man, marketing, right? Like how to storytell, right? Like how to like storytell against a product, how to communicate, like when you're in some of these meetings, like it's a different language that's being spoken, learning about colors and materials and again, like how to like push these products to the marketplace. Also the importance of the why, like why are we doing this thing right now? A lot of times people do shit, but why are you doing it? It was all those things I learned at Nike coming up in the game, right? At a very young age. And I started to apply those things to my business, to my content, to how I'm rolling out videos and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that's why a lot of what I was doing early on, and even now, it looked way different than a lot of other action sports athletes, probably all of them, because I was coming from a different place. You know what I mean? Like my influences were way different at early on in my career.
Yeah, I wonder now, and maybe it's true, like, was that on the vision board? Because I know you like to ride in everything, right? But I remember like even like the X Games, it was like, they had the airwalks,
right.
And then the dunks became something. Paul Rodriguez, he got a shoe off of that.
Right.
Are you on the vision board? Are you drawing like, you know what? I'm assuming maybe the Jordan 1's your favorite shoe.
100%.
That's what I want to create. I love to ride in that. I'm going to create that one.
Yeah, it was a natural progression because for a minute I was only riding in dunks, and then we did the Samp, which was like my first dunk I ever designed with DJ Clark Kent, which was a crazy moment for
me.
Super legend. You know what I mean? Like crazy. We did that, and then I naturally progressed into starting to wear Jordan 1s to ride in, and I started riding in everything. And people started to like notice it, and like, and it was kind of this thing that was part of my brand was like, what Jordan 1s or what crazy ass sneakers you gonna ride in next? And so like when the opportunity came about to do like the Jordan 1, it was a no brainer.
Yeah, it was cringeworthy. I'm gonna be honest with you. Watching you ride in some of these sneakers that most people can't get their hands on.
Right.
I'm just like, but I'm thinking even now from when you said marketing, like Nike, the fact that they signed you at an early age, right? They're probably watching the transition from, we have the Air Force One, which is a great shoe. Adidas comes through with that NMD, and in like 2012, Kanye's over at Adidas as well at the time. They're trying to figure out what the competitor is going to be. You're already wearing dunks.
Right.
Let's put the focus on it. Was that like part of the plan, do you think?
I'm not sure. Maybe someone over there thought about it, you know, because like at that point in time, I was also signed to Nike SB. So the dunk was just a shoe that I was just naturally wearing regardless. You know what I mean? And I think the other part of it too that people may not know is that I've been signed to multiple categories in Nike. You know, like I came in under Nike 6.0, and then that turned into Nike Flag. And then, well, me personally, like I got signed over to Nike SB. And then I got signed to like just a general Nike athlete, like a cross category. And then now I'm with Jordan Brand.
So let's talk about your involvement in Brooklyn Machine Works.
Right.
So that's totally different from what we just talked about as far as apparel. Yeah. How did you get involved in that? And what does that look like?
Right. So I was riding on Miracle bikes underneath like, I was riding for Miracle bikes, and the opportunity to ride for Brooklyn Machine Works came about.
And what is Brooklyn Machine Works?
So Brooklyn Machine Works is a bike brand that makes like bicycles, and Pharrell was part owner. And at that point in time, like Pharrell and I were building, just working on a bunch of different ideas. So I signed over to Brooklyn Machine Works, which was a big decision, right? To leave Miracle Bikes, you know what I mean? Like talking about Dave Mirra, like one of the greatest, one of the greatest ever do it. Like this amazing bike brand, they're selling bikes all around the world, to sign to a way smaller label, you know? But I believed in what they were doing. Again, like I believed in what like the vision that Pharrell and Joe had for it. So I signed over there. It didn't work out, and it's just part of the nature of the game. And now I'm signed with Specialized Bikes.
Specialized Bikes.
You know what I mean? So I've been over there for like 3 years, and it's been dope.
So being signed with a bike, that's like, what does that actually mean you're signed with them? Like you only can ride their bike.
Yeah.
They pay you, they're like your endorser, and you're like their brand ambassador.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I can only ride Specialized Bikes.
Can't ride another bike.
Can't ride another bike. That's it. What I want to right now, though.
Do you have your own bike that you design that the general public can actually purchase, or how does that work?
Working on that right now. Working on that right now, man. It's coming soon.
Let's talk about where that bike can go. Because
what you mean?
I mean, let's talk about the Rimowa suitcase.
Right. Oh, you mean what you can put it in?
I mean, when I saw this again with the brand partnerships, this makes a lot of sense. You travel a lot, and if you travel, where does your bike go when you fly?
Exactly.
And so, how did that come about? Because when I saw the suit, I'm like, we just got one in the mail. Like a brand that we were working with sent us over. I'm like, yo, this guy has a suitcase that just holds his bike.
Yeah, man.
How'd that come about, man?
It's levels to this shit, bro. You feel me? Like, that's so you know. That's when you know, like I'm doing things. No, but I've been working with with Rimowa for a few years now. You know, they show love. They send product. They got something going on. They'll hit me up. Was like a friend of the brand, and opportunity came to do a collaboration with them. And I was like, well, we got to do a bike case. You know, for years, I've been traveling with my bike in a golf bag, right? Like a travel golf bag, which is not made for my bike, but it fits in there.
Yeah, you got to take it apart.
Take it apart, put it in the bag. It's padded, so it's cool. But I was like, man, like let's create a product that kind of solves, but it's a solution for when I'm traveling with my bicycle. Let's make it with my bike and my needs in mind. So we started working on the project last year, and we released it a few months ago, and it was super dope, man. Like people know Rimowa for being this very elite luxury travel brand, you know, so to see them step outside of the box and do something completely different. But it makes sense though, because I use their product, you know. But it was just dope, man. It was definitely one of those things where it's the highlight of the year for me thus far, you know.
Outside of this.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's a big moment right here, man. Like
leveraging social media, extremely important. You have 500, like I said, 502 Instagram followers, 502,000 Instagram followers, and then you're on YouTube and everything like that.
Right.
How do you curate how you want to be perceived on social media? Do you do your own social media? What's your strategy for marketing yourself online? Like, as an athlete, this is things that, you know, previous generation didn't have to worry about. Like Michael Jordan didn't have to worry about Twitter
At
or,
all.
you know what I'm saying? Or TikTok or Instagram. And this is just like kind of a new phenomenon.
Right.
And some people have really benefited from it and able to, you know, get themselves into, you know, become household names because of it. And some people still kind of struggle with it. They don't really know how to handle it. So yeah, how have you navigated the world of social media?
I have a love-hate relationship with social media, man. You know what I mean? But I mean, I love it more than I hate it. But no, man, like for me, again, like we spoke about earlier, right? Content and filming myself was always something I did, right? So if you think about it, right, like filming myself as a kid was super important because it's the first time I actually seen myself ride. You know, like prior to that, I didn't see myself rise. So coming up in a game where like we're filming every single day, when we had social media, it was like this amazing luxury now, because now we can take all this stuff that we're filming and share it, you know? And I'm super particular, again, how I, like what I post, why I post it. You know, I'm not just posting anything and everything. Everything for me is about telling a story, you know, and understanding what my audience want to see, what they don't want to see, you know, things I can use to grow my audience. And as far as like a strategy, man, it's just about being authentically myself. You know what I mean? Never going outside my box or trying to do something that's like not me. You know what I mean? I'm never being afraid to experiment, but making sure that it's true to my DNA. So that's how I approach social media.
This is something that we've, you know, been very cognizant about, and that's expanding the brand outside of the box that they try to put you in.
Yeah.
Right. So we obviously do financial education. We're in the world of business, but we have other things that we aspire to do, right? Fashion, food, travel. I feel like you're on that similar path, right? I seen you in Esquire.
Yeah.
The people are actually following your journey in fashion. We met in Paris. I mean, it was Paris Fashion Week.
Yeah.
So talk about that part of it, because it's not just, hey, I'm a BMX athlete. There's some other things that I want to explore professionally as well.
Of course, man. Like those things are super important to me. You know what I mean? Like at this point, like bike riding is always going to be the core of what I do, but I have other interests. You know what I mean? Like fashion being a big one of those things, right? And how I'm showing up in the fashion space, you know, especially coming from the lens of a BMX athlete. You know, we think about like travel and how that's a big part of what I do. Mm-hmm. Design, you know, like designing products, right? We design sneakers, the Removi case, clothing, like all the different things. And then like, to think about financial literacy, right? My foundation, Nigel Sylvester Foundation. We launched a financial literacy program with Chase Bank in one of the high schools in Queens, like in the month of April, which is super dope. So all these things are very important to me and they're natural extensions of my brand. And I'm using my social media platforms to share how I'm partaking in these things, you know, and telling stories, right, through like these different lenses. But it's dope though, like to have that freedom to be able to do other things. You know, I kind of look at it now where it's like there's this new age athlete that is killing it within their sport, but also outside of their sport. You know, so I've seen certain athletes, and we all have certain athletes that kill it on the field or on the court, but also off the field and off the court. You know, like the Michael Jordans, the Deion Sanders, the Serena Williams, like LeBron James. So for me, I look at that was like, well, I also want to be a killer on my bike. I'm going to go out and do my thing and always keep that pure. But when I'm not on my bike, what am I doing? How am I continuing my storytelling? How am I continuing to build my brand when I'm not physically 2 hands on the handlebars, 2 feet on the pedals?
So the financial literacy program, let's talk about that.
Right.
How did the collaboration come about, Chase? And what has been your journey in, you know, financial literacy and becoming more astute?
So in 2021, we launched my foundation, and I was inspired to launch it because I was like, man, like, how do I continue to give back to children and communities in need through bicycle riding? You know, and we launched it. We actually announced it on Good Morning America, which is amazing. We brought out like 15 kids, surprised them with bikes. We shut down Times Square. Amazing moment. And as we started to do more and more with the foundation, I was like, man, well, how do we, again, support these kids in these communities beyond just making them mobile, giving them bicycles, teaching them about bicycle riding? What's also important that kids aren't necessarily learning in school, you know, or may have a hard time learning at home because no one at home is there teaching them that, or they may not be aware of it. So financial literacy became a goal. And happened to connect with Chase. It was literally, I was just in the right place at the right time.
Were you personally always financially literate, or did you have to learn about finance?
I had to learn as well.
Like, what was
had to learn.
What was your journey in learning? Did you make mistakes? Like, you know, what was your journey?
First check, what we did.
We bought jeans.
A lot of jeans.
Nah, man. I didn't really start to get hip about how to really take control of my financial freedom and my assets until I got a proper financial advisor. You know what I mean? Like prior to that, I would save, but I wasn't saving in the way that I needed to be saving. I wasn't investing in the way I needed to be investing. And I was very fortunate that early on in my career, one of the team managers at a brand I was riding for was like, yo, let me introduce you to a financial advisor. And started to teach me about how like money works and these different things. And that was one of the best things that could ever happen to me. You know, we hear so many athletes young, I started making money and you blowing it crazy, like you're doing like whatever it is, you know what I mean? So to not fall into that was definitely a blessing.
You said something very important earlier, that when you were recording the content was the first time that you were seeing yourself ride. Yeah. It's kind of like a double entendre, right? Like the first time you're seeing yourself, but like there's not anybody that looks like you doing this.
Right.
First generation.
Yeah.
Family's from Grenada, correct?
Yep.
There's a lot. I mean, it's West Indians, man. We know how this goes, man. That's not the traditional route that they're seeing as a professional career. Talk about that, the representation that or responsibility that you feel as being the biggest in your sport, but also being the representation for the kids that look like you.
So there were other kids that rode in my neighborhood of Laurelton, right? That also was first generation, and they did their things, but a lot of those kids fell off, like as they got driver's license, got a little older, it was like, this ain't going nowhere, which is completely understandable. And when I started to, again, like travel around New York City, I met other kids who came from similar situations, right? First generation, whether it was parents from DR or Jamaica, whatever the case may be. So there was a pocket of us, right? It was just, when you think about BMX riding on a professional level and action sports on a professional level, there's not many of us, you know what I mean? So I definitely went through those times where it was like, man, like there's a lot of friction, you know what I mean? The fact that I was that I am a black BMX athlete, you know what I mean? I dealt with those things within the industry, you know what I mean? People hating on me or people saying crazy whatever, you know what I mean? Like, or even when I'm doing certain projects, certain things, and I'm using rap music, or I'm literally just telling stories, or I'm a reflection of what I've seen coming up, and people within the industry not understanding it. You know, like that was just part of it. And I do feel that now, like I do have this responsibility to represent for us. You know, and like there's a young black kid somewhere in the world right now that's watching what I'm doing, that wants to be the next professional BMX athlete. You know what I mean? And I feel part of what I'm doing now was opening doors for that kid the same way that athletes prior to me opened a door for me. You know, it's kind of just like the way the circle of life works.
So you said like you felt racism.
100%.
Was that from your counterparts or from corporate or from all of the above?
It was definitely from certain counterparts, certain people within like the industry, and just being a black man in general, moving around the world. Like when I was leaving Paris like a couple weeks ago, man, like I went to the airport and I felt it. You know what I mean? And that didn't feel good at all. Like, but it's just
like people
again,
looking at you.
Nah, like they put me through this crazy security check for no reason. It was like, it was wild, bro. You know, and I've been traveling around the world since I was 18. So I've been on a lot of planes, a lot of airports around the world. This was overboard.
Check all through my bag.
And,
tell me that.
And I felt it. You know, yeah, this is the airport, right? There's gonna be certain security measures. But this, it felt like it had like that yuck on it. It was like, oh yeah, you're doing this because of my skin tone, because I'm well dressed, got my watch on, you know what I mean? Like it was like one of those type of situations.
So you think that has, like, you obviously have done good in sponsorships, but do you think that you would have more sponsorships if you were white? Do you think that you got, like, has that affected your brand partnerships and different things and opportunities that have, you think you'll have more opportunities if you were white?
I couldn't necessarily say that, because like when I look at what I've created for myself, you know what I mean, and what I've been blessed with, man, like I literally work with the best brands in the world, you know, so I couldn't say, like, I couldn't answer that, honestly, you know what I mean?
Do you at some point, right, I'm going back to like when you got signed at 18, at some point, do you see yourself being the organization or the company, the enterprise that starts to sign young BMX riders, right, and giving them the opportunity, especially the ones that look like you, based on some of the things that you said that you face coming up and still face now?
Of course. I mean, like, I've been helping young kids who ride BMX for years. It's not something that I'm gonna publicize like that. 'Cause I'm doing it from my heart. I actually want to do it. I want to see kids find success and find a way out through bicycle riding, you know? And I have a brand, the Go brand, where like we're starting to sign guys underneath that label and help them out. You know what I mean? Like help them avoid some of those pitfalls or some of those setbacks that I had to deal with when I was coming up. Again, I just think that's super important.
So how has, like, you've been in it for a long time, right? What's your perception on how the sport and the culture has evolved over the last 10, 15 years?
I think it's to like the point you made earlier, right? Where like you look at the fabric of culture and you see BMX riding, skateboarding, action sports, and it's just part of it now. It just makes sense, right? Like you see music videos and like there's bikes in there or there's kids skateboarding in there. You know what I mean? Like it's a lot of the clothes that's inspired by action sports culture, you know? So I just think like it goes hand in hand. Like you look at streetwear, right? Some of the biggest streetwear brands are action sports kids who like rode bikes and skateboarded, you know what I mean? And now we see like everyone rocking those brands. Like Supreme, for example, is one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest.
Well,
you know?
I was going to ask you about the fashion.
Okay.
Because Jim Jones played a part in this. We forgot about him. He didn't ride bikes or he didn't ride, but he dressed like a skateboarder. And him saying they was wearing those chains with jeans.
Chain belts.
Oh, the biker chains.
Nobody was doing that. And that actually impacted, I think, how people viewed the sport as well. Because like you said, Supreme and a bunch of other things, like it became cool to dress like a skateboarder or to dress like a biker. And once fashion is a very important part. Once fashion starts to be accepted, then culture starts to be, it's like African culture now, right? Now, once the culture and people start to actually, they want to dress like in the traditional garbs. Now that actually makes the culture just more acceptable. Now people want to travel there because of the fashion is kind of leading the way. So hip hop culture, what's your thoughts on that aspect as far as, you know, hip hop culture blending with it and the fashion kind of helping to transition awareness to what you guys had going on?
I love it. It's the reason why, right? Like a lot of the videos that we put out, right? The majority of them, we're using these like rap music, hip hop music, you know? And shout out to Jimmy, right? And it's funny you say that because he hit me the other day. He was like, yo, I used to ride bikes. Like,
who knew?
We were at this KIF dinner. And he was talking about the bikes he had when he was younger or whatnot. He used to race actually.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And I think that's the magic about bicycle riding. There's so many of us have experienced it on different levels. You may not been going down a handrail, jumping downstairs, but that feeling, that freedom you get, that like joy and excitement you get when you're riding a bike super fast, like down the street.
I like it.
It's everything. It's just one of a kind feeling, man. So the fact that we start to see hip hop and fashion starting to embrace bicycle riding, action sports, man, that's super dope to me. Like it's super fire, man. You can even pull up on YouTube. There's certain clips you got Pharrell like riding around on bicycles, like doing tricks, like standing up on like the top tube and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like to see what like Wayne is doing, man, to see these guys participate is dope because we are fans of them and now they're starting to become fans of us. You know?
It's incredible to watch. So for that BMX rider that's 18, 17, you've watched the space go from a space where not many eyes are on it to a space where it's become super, super lucrative. Your route is untraditional, right? Unconventional, where it's like you focus on the brand, not going to a contest. But as more money and more brands come into it, I see them there's more X Games now. I'm like, there's a Winter's X Games, there's the Summer Street X Games. Would the route be, hey, maybe try to compete and build your brand at the same time? Or what would you advise the younger rider that's about to begin his career?
Do what works for you. You know what I mean? Like, I took a very non-traditional route in a non-traditional sport and like made it work, right? That's not the only way to do it. There's other ways to go about it. I would say the most important thing, this is with anything, is to be consistent. You know what I mean? Like my goal was always to kill them all year, every year. I wanted to just drop moments, you know what I mean? Whether, again, it's a content or whether it's a product, whether it's an event we're doing, no matter what it is, I just want to stay active and be consistent. And I feel like being consistent for all of these years has led me to where I'm at now. You know, where I'm collaborating with, again, some of the biggest brands in the world. I'm able to live out my imagination. Like literally, like anything I could think of right now, it's a way, there's a will, I could figure it out. You know, I was going through one of my old notepads a few days ago. I was cleaning out my storage unit, and I found notes from like 2014 of me talking about the Ghost series and like what I'm gonna do with it. And I read it, and it gave me chills, bro, to see that like I accomplished like all these things that I envisioned. You know what I mean? But again, it was about being consistent. It was about having that vision and taking it step by step. Like nothing happens overnight. You know, like legit, like it's a marathon. You know what I mean? Like, and I realized it was going to be a marathon. Like a few years into my career, like, it's not going to happen overnight for me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We speak about how like when I'm coming up, a lot of these social media platforms weren't even a thing yet.
Right.
You know, like I was ahead of that.
Probably watching these guys like, y'all got it easy.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, y'all got it so good. You go out, you can film on your phone. You don't need a whole film crew. You could throw it up right now. You know what I mean? Like, I had to figure out these different things and transition with how social media was working and how media in itself was operating, you know? But again, like, even through all of those changes, it was about being consistent. Like, that consistency, man, is everything, you know?
So, you have any mentors in like business or in the sport now currently, or, you know, just in life that are help guiding you through navigating, you know, this is a good deal, don't do this, you know, watch how you do this, different things of nature? Like, do you have an OG or, you know, somebody that you look up to in the space?
I do. Again, I've been very fortunate to have relationships with a lot of now CMOs of certain brands, you know what I mean? And like having these guys in my corner, right? Been amazing. Having these like an amazing team around me, you know what I mean? I'm signed to a few different agencies, and like having a solid team around me that the decisions that I'm making, it's not just me like, I want to do this, I want to do it. No, we discuss everything, you know? My day ones are still around me.
Your friends?
My friends, yeah.
What do they do?
Oh, my boy Ralphie, he's head of all content for me and everything right now. So he's with me all the time. Some of my other boys, they got like quote unquote like regular jobs, I guess you want to say. You know,
or they don't necessarily work with you.
Yeah,
they just
doing
consult.
their thing.
They consult you.
It's just like it's a place I can go to where it's
for advice.
I can get sound advice. You know, from people who actually know me, care about me, who see me come up in this journey. You know what I mean? So again, having good people around you. You know, we go back to speaking about relationships and how important it is to foster relationships. You know what I mean? Like those are super important to me. You know, very, very valuable for me.
How much time do you spend on your craft coming up and now? Like how many hours were you actually practicing when you want to come up, and how much time do you actually dedicate to still practice now?
My business has changed, right? So of course, when I'm younger, and the only thing I was focused on was riding my bicycle every day. You know what I mean? Like now I still ride all the time, but it's a little different. I have to now allocate energy and time to other things, right? Like coming up with a design or coming up with an idea for a piece of content doesn't happen overnight. You got to sit down and actually work on that. At least I do. You know what I mean? But I always say like I've put my 10,000 hours in 10 times and still counting. You know what I mean? I'm still learning, still practicing, still sharpening my sword, all in the pursuit of being great.
So like, because I'm just interested to know how different people, how they work. Because I used to play basketball. So like, I know like I used to wake up and play basketball and then like work out, like lift weights and then run and then play summer league tournaments. So it was literally like 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, sometimes like all day. So I was just interested to know, like, when you were on the, like, was it 2 hours? Was it 6 hours? Was it just, we out all day.
All day? All day, right. We out all day. Cause like, there's also, it's like a lifestyle sport, right? Where it's like, the guys that I was riding with are actually my friends. you know. So we would
So it's
go
not,
ride.
it's not so much as a practice. It's more like freestyle. You just riding. You're not like doing drills. Like
Yeah, like we're not like, I'm not saying, well, I need to go do 50 bunny hops right now. Like that's not the case. It's more like we gotta go to the skate park.
Gotta get it up to 5 feet there.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like you only have 4.5, man. Gotta get up to a 5.
Well, no,
It wasn't like that.
not because it's interesting, because that's how most sports are.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like most sport, you run track, you're running 100 sprints. You play basketball, you gotta get 1,000 jump shots up. Like, you know, so your sport is interesting because I never even realized that. Like you're not technically, you never really practice. You're just freestyling.
It's I wouldn't say we don't never practice, because say I'm gonna go out and like do this trick that I've never done before, and say it's like a 4-trick combo.
You're gonna
I'm gonna go work on each part of that combo, and then I'm gonna get to the spot where I'm ready to go film it, and then put it all together, right? Like right then and there, and film it. You know what I mean? Like, so again, like we're not going to the park and saying, I got to do 100 tail whips, but I'm gonna go to the park and do a bunch of tails so I feel good with it, where I know I can do it on command. You know what I mean? Like it's that repetition over and over and over, practice until you get it to the point where like you can do it one take every single time.
Is there a trick? You know, like you said, like the big kahuna was the wave to ride, and then skateboarding, it was like, if somebody could do a 720, that would be incredible until somebody does a 720. Is there like that trick that the BMX riders are like, if anybody can pull that off, they're going to be the greatest?
No, but like this, because there's so many different tricks that hasn't been done yet.
Okay.
That's like, there's not just this one trick where like, if you do this, it's like the ultimate. It doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? Because like nowadays, like we're linking 4 or 5 different tricks together in like one like run. You know,
triple hands,
right? You
handlebar spin,
manual grind, manual bar spin. It's like it's like video games now. You know what I mean? And each of those have a different kind of level of difficulty. And then you can do them regular, you can do them switch. I would define that as like writing with your right hand and then writing with your left hand. You know, so learning how to do tricks the other way, the unnatural way. So yeah, it's not that where it's like that like big wave, you ride this and like you're
But even like back to what Shadi was saying, it's interesting, right? Like when he was doing that, he's practicing to craft his skill, but it's also conditioning it.
100%.
So like how do you train for like when you're right? Like, or is it just naturally that I'm outside, so
you're naturally outside.
So you just that's the training.
Yeah, because like any given day I'm riding at least 30, 40 miles without even thinking about it. And then the tricks on top of that, right? So I might go to the skate park and I might just go hard for like 2 hours, like nonstop.
Yeah.
Like that's the conditioning itself. You know what I mean? Like you got the distance, you're lifting a bike up,
a lot of ab work.
Your body, it's a lot of core work. You know what I mean? So the bike has always been the workout for me. You know what I mean? There was certain parts of my career where after injury, I got into the gym and I worked on like certain things just to get stronger again. But a lot of times it's just riding.
Where do you see the future of the sport going? Like, where do you see it?
It's limitless, man. I feel like the sport's in a weird place right now, right? Like we're lacking like traditional BMX media. You know what I mean? Like we don't have many like BMX focused outlets.
I was gonna say, because the ESPN, they don't really cover it too much these days.
Not at all. So it's even like that, right? Where like compared to like a basketball or football, hockey, whatever, like we don't got Stephen A talking about, oh, did you see the bar spin that Nigel just did? You know what I mean? Like they're not covering it like that. Because again, it's a niche sport.
Is that because there's been a decline in viewership? Because they used to. ESPN.
ESPN would normally cover it only when X Games came around. That's one time a year.
Then they put too many channels. Now you don't know when.
You don't know what's going on.
What channel X Games is on.
You don't know what's going on. And then even that again. So this is something I realized too. X Games is a TV show, and they need to get viewers. So they're only going to put the most like viewed like sports on for that hour and a half block they have. And at a certain point in time, like. It was like, well, it kind of turned into like a circus in a sense, where it's like we have this mega big ramp that the riders are riding. It's like this 50-foot ramp.
Yo, I'm just scared to even like, how do you even go down that?
Yeah, like that thing is nervous, man. like at that point in time, I was like, well, I don't ride mega ramps. Like, where you finding a mega ramp in the hood? like kids can't even relate to it. It's just, again, it turned into like a circus in a sense. And it started to not highlight like my style of BMX riding, like street riding as much. It started to highlight what's going to get the most views. And you started to see certain guys who depended on the X Games started to lose deals, not be as relevant anymore, because you're depending on this third party entity for how far you can go. That's also for me where when I realized that, I was like, okay, I don't care about that. And it also contributed to me like, you know what, I'm gonna just do my thing over here. I'm gonna use social media because I can control it. And I'm gonna bubble up that way. I'm gonna use YouTube, I'm gonna use the internet.
But you said, I didn't mean to distract you, but you said that it's in a weird space right now because there's not a lot of mainstream media.
Right, so not a lot of mainstream media talking about it. Also, like, we don't have like those BMX like only media outlets, right? Like the biggest magazine we had, it got acquired by a bigger company and then they dissolved it. You know, like we have certain websites and whatnot, but there's not like those big media outlets that are really talking about BMX and like pushing it out, you know?
So how do we fix this? How do we get it more visible?
We need people that are passionate about covering BMX athletes and the sport of BMX.
Do we need more notable figures?
We need that too, right? Like we have some amazing BMX athletes around the world. These guys are incredible, right? Young kids coming up, they're fire, you know, but they still need time to develop and build their brand.
Right.
You know, and you get it, you know what it is, right? Like you may be one of the best bike riders in the world, right? But you have to care about that as well. You know what I mean? Like a lot of things that people have seen me do throughout my career, I cared about those other things. You know what I mean? Like I cared about being in the ESPN body issue, or I cared about being on like a Forbes list or any of these things. Like these things that I like care about going to Paris at Fashion Week. You know what I mean? And like collaborating with certain fashion brands doing these things. So I feel it's like, it's not just one thing, it's a mixture of things that's gonna need to happen to take the sport to like that next level.
You know what I care about?
What's that?
Sneakers.
Love sneakers.
I know you care about it as well. Can we talk about the bike Air?
Right.
I don't think I've ever seen Nike take the N off their shoe before.
Man, that was a big
What
moment.
was that conversation like? What's the status with it? I told you in Paris, I said, yo, in order for us to do this interview, you gotta at least have them on the table. You gotta at least have them on the table. I didn't say like, I need to have a pair. I'm just saying that they could be on the table.
You should have hit me last night, like, yo, bring this kicks. I would have brought them with me, bro.
What happened? How did this happen, right? Because when I saw a bike Air, I was like, oh, he took it to a different level.
Man.
He took the N off of it.
That was... The bike Air is crazy. I mean, yeah, like we think about Nike as a brand, as this incredible institution, right? And we've seen classics come out of Nike as far as sneakers, clothes, whatever, commercials, all these different things. But to have the opportunity to take the N off and put a B there, and like, who better to do it than me? You know what I mean?
It's perfect.
It was a moment. And I think we do got some more bike Air stuff coming out. We'll see. But yeah, it was one of those things where it's a legit dream come true. You know what I mean? I remember watching some of those classic commercials, right? Whether it's like the Jordan Spike joints, or whether it's that one like N1 mixtape inspired commercial that was bouncing the ball and they made the beat. You know what I mean? And you see some of the stuff like, again, like these classic images of Dion and Nikes and LeBron and Kobe and all these amazing people, man. Like, it's such a rich heritage. So to be able to contribute to that with delivering bike Air, man, it was a groundbreaking moment.
Were they accepting of it, the idea at first?
Yeah, they was with it.
Right away.
That's
crazy.
It was one of those like, it was with it enough to be like, cool, we're gonna try it and put it on there and see what happens, you know? And then the response from it, that's what really took it over the top, right? You know what I mean? Like, to have people from all different walks of life wanting to have a Nike that says bike on it, you know?
It's perfect.
Like, it's perfect, bro. You know?
Yeah, friends and family. So hopefully after this, you know, we become part of that.
Right. Gotta get those kicks, man. And even like to do bike Air on this silhouette that we did it on the Airship, right? This is the first shoe that Jordan wore when he came into the league before the Jordan One. Yeah. You know, so like that shoe tells a story of proving yourself, of beginnings. So to put bike Air, something that's brand new, that's just starting on that silhouette, it's again, it goes back to like that storytelling, you know.
Well, it's been an honor, my brother. So what do you have coming up? What do you want to make the people aware of? What's any announcements, anything like that?
Nah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the element of surprise. You're right. So like, of course you're gonna know I'm working, right? We're always cooking up. I'm just wired like that. You know what I mean? But I like to have people just wake up one morning and go on the gram and be like, what is he doing now? Like, how did this happen? But no, overall we got some content coming up. We got some more stuff with the foundation that I'm really excited about. It's gonna be dope. We got like more product coming. We're gonna just keep pushing.
Yeah. As you were talking, I thought of a brand that has been hurting over the past 2 years.
Who that?
That's involved with bikes, not in the way that you are, but imagine you being on a ride, Peloton. Like imagine, like you said, you rode 40 miles. Like we run on a Peloton. I'm like, this thing's ridiculous. But imagine if they had you as a guest riding on that.
Peloton, holla.
That's
as simple as that.
That would be dope. They need some help over there.
Nah, yeah. Like question, like, do you have a Peloton?
I do.
Do you use it often?
I do. Not as often as I would like to, but I do.
Right, but you use it. And like, how's the experience?
It's cool. There's like a bunch of trainers that you can go with. I usually ride with Alex.
Okay.
And because he plays hip hop music.
Right.
So I would imagine you being on there, playing the hip hop music. And I mean, you can change the settings on there. You can change the resistance. You can change the speed. But just having guest people come on there
to be holla at Alex, man.
Yeah.
Alex, holla. It was funny because we were supposed to meet in Barcelona earlier. I think late last year, because we both were signed to Smartwater. And we did this commercial, like this global commercial in Barcelona. And he shot the day before me and left. Oh. So we just missed each other. But might have to holler at Alex and see what's cracking. You know what I mean?
Dope. Guess right.
Earn your leisure link out.
There we go.
I'll take 10%.
As you should. Listen, energy is not free at all, bro.
That's the new shirt. Energy is not free.
It's not free, man. So
that's a fact. Nah, it's been a pleasure, my brother.
Nah, thank you.
Definitely,
man. I appreciate it.
look forward to linking.
Nah, of course.
And any collab that we can do, wish you best of luck and everything that you got going on. Definitely follow your journey. Continue to follow your journey. And keep paving the way. Keep being a trailblazer. It's important for people to see representation. It's extremely important. And, that's probably one of the biggest things that you can do is inspire somebody. So, keep doing that. You never know who's impacted.
That part. You never know who's watching, man.
That's a fact.
That's
a fact. You never know, man. So we appreciate you. We support you. And thank you guys for rocking with us. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.